Hi, welcome back to Examining Life, a life that's worth living. My name is Amanda. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you're new to my channel, welcome. The goal of my channel is to travel around the world and ask people from all different countries various philosophy-related questions and see how these are answered across different cultures. That is the overall goal of my channel. However, on Wednesdays, I host Wisdom Wednesdays, where I choose a quote and analyze the wisdom behind that quote. So today's Wisdom Wednesday is part 2 of 3 of analyzing the quote, "Know thyself," which Socrates acquired from the Oracle of Delphi. This episode will focus on 2 paradoxes that relate to gaining knowledge about yourself. Later, in my conversation with Giulio, he mentioned a paradox that comes up in the search for self-knowledge, which, as he states,
we are like dynamic beings. We change a lot. We change in time. Experiences we have in life changes us.
So it is unlikely that you'll be able to know yourself completely. It might not be possible to fully know yourself because of the changes that are constantly occurring. So as soon as you think you know yourself, you no longer know that self anymore, because you are no longer that self and are this new self. So the search for self-knowledge is this continual cycle of getting to know yourself, thinking you know yourself, realizing you don't know yourself because you're no longer that self, and getting to know your new self, etc., etc. Then the process for self-knowledge starts over again and is a continual cycle. I think this can be true in some scenarios. Sometimes there are huge life events that contribute to changing your identity, which can include your values, your outlook on life, or other fundamental changes. However, what constitutes the self is very multidimensional. Yes, people change over time, but not everything about a person changes each time there is a shift in their life. This is a matter of viewing the self as a part-to-whole ratio. For example, here is a simple pie chart to visualize a possible way to break down one's identity. Some things may change more frequently, while others remain pretty consistent with little to no change. This is just a sample. This is not necessarily how I even view myself or broken down into percentages. It's strictly an example. So the point of looking at your life in terms of like percentages and various like sectors of your life is to show that even if one area changes, which means your identity changes to some degree, which means you have to get to know your new self, that doesn't necessarily mean your whole changes. It might impact other areas, but not every area. The various areas of one's identity may or may not impact other areas of their life. Therefore, if one thing changes, such as a hobby, other things can remain consistent, such as one's role in his or her family. This gives hope to attaining self-knowledge, because even if knowing yourself 100% is unlikely, one may still be able to achieve, say, 85 to 90%. Also, being aware of when such transitions are occurring is important so that you can make adjustments in other areas if needed. Furthermore, if there is a very specific event that changed you, and you know for a fact that that is what changed you, it's important to take time to reflect on that experience. For the next part of this episode, I am going to discuss a possible contradiction with 2 Socratic quotes. The first one obviously still being the quote, "Know thyself," but I would also like to bring in where Socrates' quote, "I know that I know nothing," comes in. Of course, these 2 quotes were not said side by side and have been taken out of context, but I want to analyze where the latter quote fits in with knowing yourself. Since we discussed the possibility of attaining self-knowledge as being an impossible task, if all Socrates knows is that he knows nothing, then it seems logically impossible for him to know himself, because his self is something. If you know something, you cannot know nothing at the same time. Either Socrates did not know himself when he stated that second statement, that he knows nothing, or the latter quote is no longer true once he attained self-knowledge. I can imagine a scenario in which someone is experiencing a time in their life when they do not know him or herself and are continuously analyzing and questioning themselves and the world around them. The second quote probably holds more weight here in this scenario, because if someone is continuously questioning who they are and their surroundings, then they do not know him or herself. However, even in this scenario, this individual might still have other knowledge of other things, which we take as fact, such as physics or geometry, for example. However, what about someone who isn't questioning aspects of their life because they are living the life that they know they want and are conscious about all aspects of their life, and they know that they have achieved the virtuous state of knowing him or herself? Please note that in this scenario, the individual is not questioning due to being passive, but because they truly know themselves. Socrates would probably call this person unwise, albeit having achieved a virtuous state. I think he would say this because if this person was truly virtuous, he or she would know that he or she is continuously changing, and that current state would not be forever. So there is a possibility of a mere perception of the achievement of virtue, but not an actual achievement of the virtue of knowing yourself. For the sake of example, let's say this individual truly does know him or herself, and has in fact achieved self-knowledge. Does the second Socrates quote apply? In the moment, I would say that this person does not know nothing, because he or she knows him or herself. However, as we discussed, continual self-knowledge is unlikely to be sustainable, especially at the virtuous stage. Therefore, there's a chance that the second quote can hold true as soon as the individual no longer knows him or herself, also given that he or she also knows nothing else. Hence, therefore, they would then know nothing. Although, yet again, even in this next transition stage of one's life, this does not mean all facts that he or she knows will be forgotten. So it is possible that he or she will know something with certainty, even if that is not him or herself. Thank you so much for watching part 2 of 3 of this 3-part series of my first episode of Wisdom Wednesday. Please let me know in the comments below what you think of the quote, "Know thyself," and any other paradoxes that you may see in the search of self-knowledge. Also, please let me know of any future quotes that you'd like me to analyze on Wisdom Wednesday. Stay tuned for next week's continuation of the conversation and analysis of the Socrates quote, "Know thyself." And don't forget, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Stay tuned every Wednesday. Thank you. Happy travels. Bye.